Everybody, this is James, and welcome back to the third episode of the Ironman Lake Placid Prep. We currently have 15 more weeks of training until Ironman Lake Placid, so really got 2 or 3 builds within that, because right now I do 3 or 4 weeks of building, and then I do a 1 week of active recovery. So I'm actually just coming off of a week of active recovery right now. So the body's feeling good, feeling ready to rip this week and for the next 3 weeks after that. Right now, just to provide some information, my fitness on Training Peaks, the score is a 93. Training Peaks kind of takes into consideration the last little bit of training, as well as just kind of your readiness based on all of your heart rate data to give you a score. So to provide some context there, the highest that I've been in the last couple of months is right around 100. Was right before the Austin Marathon, and then volume dipped a little bit, so I'm still building it back up. But something that's super exciting is last year leading up to Lake Placid, the highest that I ever got was I think 87 or 88. So in theory, right now, 15 weeks out, I am more fit than I was lining up for race day last year, or at any point leading up to that, which is something that I wanted to test out. So that's why for this video, throughout this week, for 3 of the sessions, I'm going to pick a swim, a bike, and a run. And I'm looking at around this time last year through my Training Peaks data, and I'm going to redo a set from that time. So today's Monday. We just wrapped up work. I'm going to do like a 4 to 6 mile easy run, just to get some miles in, and then we're gonna head to the pool. And today in the pool, we are gonna be doing a set that I did last year. So right now it's March 31st. I think we did this set the first week of April last year. So the way that that's gonna go is it's 4 200s for warm up. It is 150 easy and then a 50 hard. So to break it down to the heart rate zones, 150 in zone 2 and then a 50 in around zone 4. And the fourth one is just a 200 in zone 4, just kind of see what you got. And then the main set is 15 100s, but it's done as 3 broken 500s. So the way that is, you're gonna do a 100 and then you get 10 seconds rest 5 times. So it's gonna be zone 2, zone 3, zone 4, zone 5, zone 2. And after each 100, you get 10 seconds rest. And then after all 5, I'll take an additional 10 seconds rest. So it'll be essentially 5 100s with a 20-second rest into the next round for 3 rounds. My prediction now is I don't know if I'll have anything faster than that 101, maybe right at it. But I do think that they'll all be around that 101, 102 mark. But based on how I've been swimming, if I'm feeling really good and if I'm swimming strong today, we could see a 00. We could see as fast as a 58 on that zone 5 one. But we'll have to see what we got. All right, we just wrapped up with today's swim. Honestly, super successful. We're gonna hold off on showing the results until the end of the video. I'm gonna break everything down within Training Peaks and stuff. But I can say right now, I'm pretty sure every single swim was faster. Maybe not the case for that 5th 100 that was warm down, but it was definitely pretty close. And but I know for a fact that everything else was as fast, if not faster. But stay tuned to the end to get all the data on that. Okay, time for Wednesday's speed workout. Looking back at it, these workouts are actually from last February, so it's a little bit more than a year from when I did these last, but nonetheless, we're kind of testing how far we've come in the last 14 or so months. Today's speed workout, we're gonna have 7 rounds of 2 minutes hard, 2 minutes easy. And the biggest thing that we're looking at is, one, the pace that we're hitting, two, kind of how that pace is changing throughout the 7 reps. Are we getting faster? Are we getting slower? Are we holding? And three, what our heart rate's doing within those intervals. I think that's where we're going to see the biggest difference. I was kind of looking at the results from last year, and honestly, the speed wasn't as slow as I thought it was going to be. So I'll be interested to see how much faster I can run than that this year. But I'll also be interested to see if I am running at like a 30-second per mile faster pace than last year. Is my heart rate the same or maybe even lower? So I'm excited to see what we got. I definitely think that running is the sport that I've made the most strides in to this point. So see if I can back that up out on the road. Thursday, so we're getting ready to do the bike workout for the week that we were comparing to last year. This workout's going to be 6 rounds of 5 minutes hard, and I think it's 2 minutes easy in between. And looking back to last year, I think we held right around like 240 watts for those 5-minute rounds. So I'm going to see what we can do this year. Normally I do a workout like this in erg mode for the periods that are on, which basically, if you don't know what that is, when you have a bike trainer, you can set it to erg mode, which basically means whatever wattage you're trying to hit on the bike, you can keep it on there. So your resistance will either be harder or easier depending on how fast you're pedaling. So typically the goal with that would be to keep the same cadence while pushing the same amount of power. And it makes it a little bit easier in terms of you don't really have to think about pushing easier or harder while you're going through the intervals. You can just kind of focus on making sure that the pedals are spinning. But for the sake of just testing how far we can come or how far we've come, I'm going to turn erg mode off for this and just see what I can put down for these 6 rounds of 5 minutes on. And then just to get some more time on the bike this week, after that I'm just going to do an hour straight. All right, now we've done all 3 workouts that we're comparing back to last year. So we're gonna break these down starting with the swim. So the warm up here was 4 200s with starting out at 150 easy, 50 strong, and then 100 easy, 100 strong, 50 easy, 150 strong, 200 strong. So last year for number 1, it was 154 for the 150 easy and 33 for the 50 strong. This year, it was 145 for the 150 easy, 31 for the 50 strong. I think that one of the biggest improvements I made in my swimming is that long, easy aerobic is a lot faster. And that sprint kind of top end speed, even though over a longer distance is definitely better, I think that me a year ago might beat me today in a 50 off the blocks fast. For number 2, last year was 115 for the 100 easy, 106 for the 100 strong. And this year something weird happened with my Garmin, but the total was 220, so about a second faster for the overall 200. The third one last year was 38 for the 50 easy, 139 for the 100 strong. And then this year, I think I might have flipped this. now that I'm looking back at it, because the first 50 was a 32, and then the second 150 was a 146. And the reason why I think I flipped that is because I'm definitely not swimming a 32 really easy, and I'm definitely not swimming a 146 and 150 really strong. But for the fourth one, this is where you're kind of seeing that development, where last year it was a 211 and this year it was a 205. So it's a big drop. And I think that a lot of that goes to show just where my aerobic base is at. And then, so last year for round one, I was 116, 110, 107, 105, 118. So kind of building down to that 105 and then coming all the way back up to almost 120. For round two, this is where I had my fastest 100 of the day last year, was 115, 111, 107, 101, and 117. So you can kind of see the popping out that 101, especially for last year. That was definitely a big effort. And then the third round was 117, 112, 110, 106, 118. So especially where that 106 jumped in, that was the slowest of the three. You can kind of see by that third round, I was definitely hurting pretty bad, which is what you're trying to do for this set, but ideally you would hold a little bit more consistently than that. So this year, you see a big jump, especially in those easier swims, where round one I was 109, 106, 103, 101, 112. So everything came down. I mean, the first 100 was 7 seconds faster than the first 100 from the year before. And then the rest of them were around 4 to 5 seconds faster. Round two was 108, 106, 104, 101, 115. So here you're seeing, although the first four 100s were all right around the same speed, that easy one kind of fell back a little bit, which I'm fine with. That's what it's there for. And then the third round was 109, 107, 105, 101, 118. So everything stayed faster. And I think that seeing a lot of those easy swims drop so much, I mean, they were all at least 4 to 5 seconds looking at last year to this year per 100, which is massive, especially because I'm not training to jump in the water and do a fast 100 on race day. I'm training to swim 2.4 miles. So I think looking at the fact that my long, easy swimming is becoming a lot faster, as well as I held that 101 for every round. So even though I didn't have a faster top 100, I had 3 101s as opposed to a 101, a 105, and a 106. So that's definitely was surprising when I did the swim and looking back at it and putting this document together, because I didn't think that the swim would change that much. And you also see often you kind of lose that speed that you had in college as you get further away. And now I'm a little over 2 years out. So to see that I'm still getting faster in certain areas is huge. Now we can move on to the bike. I will say that looking at the bike workout from last year, even though Training Peaks had this workout planned, I don't know that I did this workout correctly in the last year. So essentially what it was 6 rounds of 5 minutes strong, 2 minutes easy. And looking at last year, I was doing something between 5 and 7 minutes, but a couple less reps. I think I did like 3 or 4 at 7 minutes. But essentially what I was looking at was I was holding like 240 watts at like right around 140 beats per minute for heart rate. So for this year, the 6 rounds of 5 minutes on, 2 minutes off, I was 307 watts at 160, 307 watts at 168, 305 watts at 164, 302 watts at 168, 294 watts at 168, and 278 watts at 164. So definitely a ton of growth. I wish that I did have the workout the same as last year, but my heart rate was a lot higher, so that workout didn't look as good in terms of comparing to last year. But what I did do, even though I didn't film it, was I looked at my long ride from the same week last year, which was my peak week. So I did 4 hours at 170 watts at an average heart rate of 112. And looking at that workout, it was structured where I did have some like longer intervals, and the one from this year was just a straight up long ride. And this year I did 4 hours at 200 watts with a heart rate of 128. So you're seeing 30 more watts with right around 15 beats per minute higher for the heart rate, which, especially with it being under 130, I'm not too concerned about. And looking at last year's, especially during those intervals, like if I was pushing over 200 watts, I was definitely hitting that like 135 to 140. So definitely seeing a massive improvement, especially over the 4 hour ride, which I'm much more interested in than over the 1 hour workout. The run is the third workout that we looked at. I do think that the run's the easiest one to see improvement in, and that might just be for me because I really have no running background at all, and I've seen a big improvement in the last year or so. But it could also just be because I think just as a society, we understand kind of your paces and stuff like that a lot more when it comes to running. Whereas if you tell most people, oh, I can run a 5-minute mile or a 6-minute mile, like a lot of people know what you're talking about. But if you said, oh, I can swim a 50-second 100 freestyle, nobody knows if that's good or not. But I've definitely seen a massive improvement in both my aerobic paces and my top end speed from last year. So essentially what this one was it was 10 minutes warm up and then 7 rounds of 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off. And looking at last year for that warm up, for 10 minutes, I did 8:53 pace minutes per mile. And my heart rate was 148 beats per minute. And this year, my 10-minute warm-up was 7:56 minutes per mile. And my average heart rate was 146. So I'm running almost a minute faster at 2 beats per minute lower, which is a crazy improvement, especially if I look at where my heart rate would have been if I was running at sub 8-minute pace last year. So then for the 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off last year, they were 6:42 pace at 172 beats per minute, 6:49 pace at 172 beats per minute, 6:50 pace at 174 beats per minute, 6:48 pace at 171 beats per minute, 6:37 pace at 175 beats per minute, 6:50 pace at 180 beats per minute, and 6:18 pace at 182 beats per minute. So you can kind of see as I went on, even though my pace didn't change all that much, that heart rate did spike up all the way into the 180s, which is definitely pretty high, especially for a 2-minute interval, which kind of tells me, I wish I broke it down, but kind of tells me that on those easy intervals, we weren't able to bring our heart rate down all that much. But looking at this year, round 1 was a 5:56 minute per mile pace at 169 beats per minute, 5:56 at 175 beats per minute, 6:17 at 177 beats per minute, 5:54 at 175 beats per minute, 5:51 at 177 beats per minute, 6:08 at 178, and 5:46 at 174. What that tells me is that we had our fastest interval was the last one, and we were actually able to pull our heart rate back down to 174, which we hadn't hit since the first one. So what that's showing me is those easy intervals, I was able to utilize it a lot more. And looking back to it, I think I might have walked for like 15 to 30 seconds after 1 or 2 of them. And thinking back to last year, I think I was walking for most of those 2-minute intervals, which is fine, especially for a short one like this. If you want to walk a little bit to bring your heart rate down to be able to really smash that 2-minute interval coming up, I don't think it's a massive deal. But definitely super interesting to see the pace drop by almost a minute at certain points and the heart rate either stay the same, and especially the fact that I was able to pull it down towards the end instead of, if you look at year 1, it just kind of consistently lifted up until the last one. So that kind of shows me that I finished the 7th one this year feeling strong and able to push a little bit more. And last year I was just kind of like holding on. All right, that's it for this video. I'm sorry for the delay. I posted on my Instagram, my camera battery charger had broke, and I had no way to charge my camera, and would rather have the whole video kind of look the same and be at the same quality rather than having to film a whole bunch on my phone. So if the editing kind of seems all over the place, or if the ending. I mean, it took forever to come out. That's kind of where the explanation is for that. So you will see a second video, or I guess episode 4 coming out a lot sooner, just because I already have some plans and already started filming. I think we're going to show the long weekend of training because it's about to be Memorial Day. This is like almost 2 weeks after I started filming this video. But we definitely have some cool stuff planned. And then we do have a really cool announcement coming up that I'm pumped about, and I should have in the next week. I really hope. Hopefully faster than that, but definitely within the next week. So that'll be a video of its own. If you're interested in following me on Strava, on TikTok, on Instagram, you can see the links in the description. And as always, if you're interested in joining 4 Leaf Endurance Club, you can see the link below. It's a place for everybody right now. As the weather gets warmer, we're going to be getting together for some training. We're going to be getting together for some workouts and some races. So definitely, if you're interested at all, no matter where you're at, feel free to jump in, because at the very least, if you are far away, it's a good community to be a part of, and you can ask people questions, you can talk to people. And as always, remember, we get to do this.